don't know how to even start this, but I've been holding it in for too long. I'm 19F, and this whole thing is about my stepbrother, who is 21M. I don't have the courage to talk to my parents yet, so I'm writing it here because maybe strangers on the internet will listen without judging me. 2 years ago, after my mom remarried, my stepbrother became part of my life. At first it was fine. He seemed quiet, polite, and mostly kept to himself. I thought maybe we could even become friends, like siblings who weren't blood related but still looked out for each other. But slowly I started noticing small things. The way his eyes lingered on me a little too long when I wore casual clothes around the house, or how he always accidentally brushed against me when passing in the hallway. The first few times I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe I was being paranoid. Then there were the comments. They weren't always obvious, but enough to make me uncomfortable. Like if I was dressed up to go out with my friends, he'd say things like, "You're really going out like that? Guys are going to stare at you." Sometimes he'd smirk. Sometimes his tone was almost possessive. I told myself to ignore it, that it was harmless. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The worst part? My mom never noticed. She was always busy with work, and when we were all together, my stepbrother acted normal, like the perfect son. Only when no one else was watching did his true colors peek through. At night, I started locking my bedroom door. I didn't even tell my mom why. I just said I liked privacy. Looking back now, I realize those were red flags, and I should have trusted my gut. But at the time, I stayed quiet, hoping it was all in my head. One evening, my mom had to stay late at work. It was just me and my stepbrother at home. I was in the kitchen, making noodles, when he walked in and leaned against the counter, just staring. "What?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He smirked. "Nothing, you just look different when Mom isn't around." That sent shivers down my spine. I ignored him and tried to continue cooking, but then he came closer, too close. I could feel his breath on my shoulder. "Why do you always lock your door at night?" he asked. My hands froze. I didn't know what to say. "Privacy," I muttered. He laughed softly, almost mockingly. "Privacy from me? I'm your brother." I wanted to scream, "You're not my real brother." But I swallowed the words. Instead, I quickly grabbed my bowl of noodles and went to my room, locking the door immediately. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing footsteps outside my room, stopping near my door, then fading away. That was the moment I realized his intentions were not brotherly at all. After that night, things only got worse. He started testing my boundaries more often, sitting too close, finding excuses to touch my hair, or cornering me in the hallway. He never did anything in front of my mom. Around her, he was an angel, the perfect son she always dreamed of. I felt trapped. I didn't want to break her heart by telling her what was happening, but I also couldn't keep living like this. My grades started dropping. I avoided inviting friends over. I stayed out late just so I wouldn't have to be home alone with him. But every time I locked my door at night, I wondered, what if one day the lock isn't enough? The final straw came one weekend when Mom had to go on a work trip. It was just me and him for 2 nights. On the first night, he knocked on my door. "Hey, you don't have to stay in your room all the time. Come watch a movie." I said no. He knocked again, harder. "Don't be weird. I'm just asking nicely." I stayed silent, heart racing. Then he said something that still makes my stomach turn. "You know, you can trust me. I'll take care of you better than anyone else." I felt sick. That night, I pushed my desk against the door before sleeping. The next morning, I finally broke. I called my best friend and told her everything through tears. She begged me to tell my mom, but I was terrified. What if Mom didn't believe me? What if she thought I was making it up because I didn't like him? But I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. When Mom came back, I sat her down. My voice was shaking, but I told her everything. The stares, the comments, the knocking on my door. At first, she looked shocked, then angry. Not at me, at him. She didn't yell, she didn't scream, she just said, "I'll handle this." That was 2 days ago. My stepbrother hasn't come home since. I don't know what she told him or what's going to happen next. I'm scared, I'm relieved, I'm broken. I just know one thing, I'll never forget the fear he put me through. So here I am, writing this. I don't know what happens next. Do I tell the police? Do I just hope he stays out of my life? I just needed to get this off my chest. Because for too long, I stayed silent. And silence almost destroyed me. After my mom confronted him, my stepbrother disappeared. He didn't come home that night or the next. Mom told me not to worry, that she took care of it. But she wouldn't tell me how. Did she threaten him? Did she kick him out? At first I felt relieved, but then the fear crept back in. What if he was still watching me? What if he was angry, planning something? Late that night, I swear I heard a car idling outside our house. When I peeked through the curtains, there was nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling he was still out there. Anonymous text from an unknown number. You think you can hide behind Mom? You'll regret this. I miss seeing you at night. My hands trembled as I read them. I showed Mom, but she said, maybe it's just a prank. Don't assume it's him. But I knew it was him. Only he would know the exact words to make my blood run cold. That night, I blocked the number, but deep down, I knew blocking him wouldn't be enough. 2 weeks later, my nightmare came true. I was home alone when I heard the front door unlock. My heart stopped. Mom wasn't supposed to be back for hours. Then I heard it, his voice. Hey, sis. Miss me? I froze in my room, too scared to move. I could hear his footsteps coming up the stairs, slow, deliberate, like he wanted me to know he was there. I dialed Mom with shaking hands, whispering that he was inside. She told me to stay locked in my room and that she was calling the police. But before they arrived, everything went silent. No footsteps, no voice. When the cops came, the house was empty. He was gone. Again. That incident broke everything. Mom finally admitted she had tried to reason with him instead of cutting him off. She thought he just needed time to adjust to our new family. But after he broke into the house, even she couldn't deny it anymore. She filed a restraining order. The problem? My stepdad, his dad, didn't believe me. He said I was exaggerating, that his son would never do such things. Our house turned into a war zone. My mom defending me, my stepdad defending him. And me? I just wanted peace. But instead, I felt like the reason my entire family was falling apart. Last night, it happened again. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a soft tapping on my window. At first, I thought it was just the wind. But then I heard it, whispering, my name. I froze in bed, too scared to move. When I finally dared to look, there was nothing, just darkness. But taped to the outside of my window was a piece of paper, in his handwriting. You can't hide forever. And that's where I am now, Reddit. Writing this with my hands shaking. My stepbrother is out there. He's not gone. He's waiting. What do I do? The note on my window shattered me. You can't hide forever. I knew then I couldn't keep running. I couldn't keep pretending this would just stop. That same night, I called the police. My voice was trembling, but I told them everything. The stares, the comments, the break-ins, the texts, even the note on my window. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just carrying this burden alone. 2 officers came to our house. They checked the yard, the window, everything. And then one of them said, "We've had complaints about someone matching his description hanging around this neighborhood at night." That sent chills down my spine. He wasn't just stalking me. He was lurking, watching, planning. The officers assured me they'd patrol the area more often, and Mom finally realized this wasn't something she could solve with reasoning or family talks. She pressed charges. The next week was a blur. Police interviews, paperwork, tears, and then, finally, he was caught. They found him a few blocks from our house, sitting in his car at 2 a.m. with binoculars, watching, waiting. When I heard the news, I broke down. Relief, fear, anger, all at once. My stepdad still tried to defend him, but the evidence was undeniable. The texts, the note, the fact that he'd broken into our home. Mom chose me. She told my stepdad if he couldn't accept the truth, then maybe this marriage wasn't going to work. And me? For the first time in years, I slept without locking my door. I don't know what's going to happen next. Courts, restraining orders, maybe even jail time for him. But I do know one thing. Silence didn't protect me. Speaking up did. And if anyone else out there feels like I did, scared, trapped, unsure if anyone will believe you, please listen. Tell someone. Call the police. Don't wait until it's too late. Because monsters don't always hide under your bed. Sometimes, they live in your house.